The Gift of Love. It was a quiet winter afternoon in New York City. Snow fell softly over rooftops and sidewalks, muffling the sounds of the city beneath a blanket of white. Wind slipped between buildings, brushing past windows and whispering through empty alleyways. Inside a small apartment, tucked away on the third floor of an aging brick building, a young woman sat by the window. Her name was Della. She was staring out at the street, her breath fogging up the glass as she pulled her thin coat tighter around her. Christmas was only a day away, and in her lap lay a small glass jar filled with coins, her savings. $1.87. That was all she had. She had counted it over and over again, hoping that maybe, just maybe, she had missed a dime. But no, there was nothing more. She had gathered that money from grocery savings, from bargaining at the market, and from picking up every spare cent she could find over the past few months. And still, it wasn't enough. Della closed her eyes, her heart aching. She wanted, more than anything, to buy a Christmas gift for her husband, Jim. Not something grand or expensive, just something meaningful. Something that showed how deeply she loved him. But what kind of gift could she buy with just $1.87? Tears welled up in her eyes. Not out of frustration, but from the quiet sorrow of loving someone so much and not being able to give them the world they deserve. But then, an idea. Della stood up and walked slowly to the mirror. She looked at herself, not at her eyes or her smile, but at her hair. It was long, thick, and beautifully brown, like flowing silk. It reached down past her waist, soft and full. Jim often said that her hair was her crown, and that if he had all the riches in the world, he still wouldn't trade it. She ran her fingers through it one last time, then reached for her coat. Outside, the wind was colder than before. But Della didn't hesitate. She made her way to a little shop with a faded sign. Madame Sofroni, hair goods of all kinds. Inside, the woman looked at Della's hair with a professional eye and said, without a hint of surprise, $20. Della nodded. Cut it, please. 10 minutes later, she stepped out into the snowy street, her head lighter, her heart hopeful. She no longer had her beautiful hair, but she had something else now. $20. Enough to buy Jim the perfect gift. She walked quickly through the streets, looking into shop windows until she saw it. A platinum pocket watch chain. Simple, elegant, strong, just like Jim. For as long as they'd been married, Jim had carried an old pocket watch, a family heirloom passed down from his father and grandfather, but the chain he used was worn and cheap. Sometimes he would check the time discreetly, hiding the chain as if embarrassed by it. This chain was worthy of that watch. And of Jim. Della paid for it with shaking hands, had it wrapped in soft brown paper, and tied it with the only ribbon she had saved from the year before, a small red one. Back at home, she placed it carefully on the table and waited. Evening came, and with it Jim. He stepped through the door, his shoulders hunched from the cold, his face tired but smiling, until he saw her. He stopped. His eyes looked at her face, then slowly to her short, uneven hair. For a long moment he said nothing. Jim, Della said softly, don't be angry. I sold my hair to buy you a gift. It'll grow back. I just wanted to give you something special. She held out the little package. He took it quietly, sat down, and opened it. When he saw the platinum chain, his fingers gripped it tightly. He looked up at her, and his eyes, warm, brown, and full of something unspoken, met hers. And then he smiled, a small, sad smile. Della, he said gently, I sold the watch to buy you these. He reached into his coat pocket and placed a small box in her hands. Inside was a set of beautiful combs, tortoiseshell with delicate designs carved along the edges. Della had admired them in the store window so many times, always imagining how lovely they would look in her long, flowing hair. She laughed softly, tears in her eyes. Her hands touched her short curls, and then reached out to take his. Neither of them said much after that. There was no need. Their gifts could not be used, not yet. But they didn't mind, because that night in that small apartment, they both knew one thing. They had each given the other the greatest gift of all, their love. A love so deep, so selfless, that they had been willing to part with their most treasured possessions just to